Hello and welcome to Lantern Lane Stories. Tonight's story is The Old Woman Who Whispered the Bremen Animals. Welcome back, little listener. Tonight we travel far away to Germany to two old towns called Kassel and Bremen. Pull your blanket up to your chin. Make sure your toes are warm. Outside, the sky is a deep, soft blue, and the world is very quiet. Long, long ago, before cars or telephones or bright electric lights, the streets of Kassel were lit by gentle yellow lamps. Lamplighters walked from corner to corner with a long pole, lighting each lamp at dusk. At the edge of one quiet street stood a small cottage with a red roof. Inside the cottage lived an old woman. Her name was Frau Dorothea Viehmann. She had been born in the year 1755. Her kitchen smelled of warm bread, dried apples, and a little bit of wood smoke. Frau Viehmann knew hundreds of stories by heart. She had learned them, long ago, from her own grandmother. She could tell the very same story twice in a row and never change a single word. On winter evenings, two young men often came knocking at her door. They were brothers. Their names were Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. They wore long dark coats and tall, soft hats. Each one carried a small leather notebook and a goose feather quill. "Good evening, Frau Viehmann," said Jacob, brushing snow from his shoulders. Come in," she said. "The kettle is hot and the fire is bright." She poured them tea in little blue clay cups. Wilhelm opened his notebook and dipped his quill in a small pot of ink. The brothers had spent many years walking from village to village. They had listened to washerwomen and farmers and soldiers. They had listened to grandmothers in tiny kitchens, just like this one. But of all the storytellers they knew, Frau Viehmann was their favorite. "Tonight," she said, "I will tell you a story about 4 very old animals." The brothers leaned forward. The fire crackled softly. The cat on the windowsill blinked her green eyes. Once upon a time, Frau Viehmann began, there was an old gray donkey. For many, many years, he had carried heavy sacks of flour to the mill. Now his back was sore and his coat was dusty and his ears drooped a little. One quiet morning, he heard his master whispering by the barn door. The donkey did not like what he heard. "I will go to Bremen," he decided. "I have heard the people of Bremen love music. Perhaps I can be a town musician there." He slipped out of the barn and set off down the long, dusty road. Clip, clop, the field smelled of warm hay and wildflowers. After a while, he saw an old hound lying under a willow tree, panting hard. "Why are you so out of breath, friend?" asked the donkey. "I am too old to chase rabbits now," the dog said softly. "My nose is fine, but my legs are tired." "Come with me to Bremen," said the donkey. "You can beat a little drum, and I can play a lute. 2 musicians are better than one." The dog's tail thumped against the grass. He stood up and the 2 friends walked on together. Pad, pad, clip, clop. The sun climbed high. Soon they came to a stone wall where an old cat sat with her chin in her paws. Her whiskers were silver and her eyes were bright green and a little sleepy. "Why so glum, dear cat?" asked the donkey. "The mice are far too quick for me now," the cat sighed. "My mistress wants to send me away." "Come along to Bremen," said the dog. "You have a fine voice for night music." The cat thought for a moment, then jumped down lightly. 3 friends now, walking down the road. Last of all, they passed a small farmyard with a wooden gate. On the gate stood a red rooster, his feathers bright as fire, his comb wobbling as he crowed. "Why are you crowing so loudly?" asked the cat. "They want to put me in the soup pot tonight," the rooster whispered. "So I am singing while I still can." "Then come with us," said the donkey kindly. A rooster's morning song would be the best music of all. The rooster flew down. Now 4 old friends walked down the road together. Clip, clop, pad, pad, soft little paws. Click, click of rooster feet. Slowly the fields turned into woods. Slowly the woods turned into a deep, dark forest. The sun went down behind the trees, and the world grew cool and quiet. The forest smelled of moss and pine needles and damp earth. The 4 friends were very tired and very, very hungry. The donkey lay down at the foot of a tall oak tree. The dog stretched out beside him. The cat climbed up into the lower branches. The rooster flew right up to the highest branch of all, where he could see far in every direction. From up there in the dark, he saw something tiny and warm. "Look," he called down softly. A little light between the trees. The friends got up and walked towards the light very, very slowly. It was a small wooden cottage with one bright yellow window. The donkey was the tallest, so he peeked inside. He saw 3 rough men sitting at a table. There was bread and cheese and a roasted chicken and a big bowl of warm potatoes. The men were robbers. They had taken those things from kind farms during the day. The donkey came back and whispered what he had seen. "Friends," said the cat, "we are too tired to walk any further. Could we not sleep there ourselves tonight?" "I have an idea," said the donkey. "Listen carefully." He stood up tall, right under the bright window. The dog climbed onto the donkey's back. The cat climbed onto the dog. The rooster flew up and stood right on top of the cat's head. They were a wobbly little tower of fur and feathers. On the count of 3, the donkey whispered. 1, 2, 3. The donkey brayed, hee-haw, hee-haw. The dog barked, woof, woof, woof. The cat yowled, meow, meow, meow. The rooster crowed, cock-a-doodle-doo. All together, all at once, into the dark forest. Inside the cottage, the robbers froze with their forks halfway to their mouths. "What is that strange, strange music?" One of them whispered. "It must be witches and goblins and a great wild creature all at once," said another. "Quick, run!" The robbers dropped their forks, jumped through the back door, and ran deep into the trees. They were so frightened they never came back. The 4 friends walked inside. The fire was still warm. The table was still full. They shared the bread and the cheese and the warm potatoes. Then they made themselves comfortable. The donkey curled up on a pile of straw by the door. The dog stretched out on a soft rug. The cat purred quietly by the fireplace. The rooster perched on a high wooden beam, his head tucked under his wing. Outside, the moon rose silver above the pines, and in their new little cottage in the woods, the 4 old friends fell asleep. Frau Viehmann smiled. "They never reached the city of Bremen at all," she said. "They did not need to. They had found something better. They had found each other." Back in Kassel, the fire in Frau Viehmann's kitchen had burned low. Wilhelm Grimm closed his notebook very carefully so the wet ink would not smudge. "Thank you," he said. "We will write it down, word by word, exactly as you told it." "That is the only way," Jacob added with a smile. "A story is a kind of treasure. It belongs to the person who told it first." The brothers walked home through the quiet streets. Snow had begun to fall in big, slow flakes. Their breath made small white clouds in the lamplight. Frau Viehmann lived to be 60 years old. She passed away in 1815, but every single story she had told the brothers lived on, safe inside their leather notebooks. In the year 1819, Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm published their book of fairy tales. The story of the 4 old animals was number 27 in the book. It is still number 27 today. And here is the most important part, little listener. The Grimm brothers did not make up that story. They did not invent it at all. They listened very, very carefully to an old woman by a warm fire in Kassel. They wrote down her words just as she said them. That is how so many of the world's oldest stories were saved. Long ago, before there were many books, stories lived only inside people's memories. Grandmothers told them to grandchildren. Old friends told them to young friends. Tailors and bakers passed them on, year after year. And kind people, like Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, sat down with their notebooks and saved the words on paper, so the stories would not be forgotten. Many, many years later, in 1953, the people of Bremen wanted to thank the 4 old animals. They asked a sculptor named Gerhard Marx to make a special statue. He worked with shining bronze. He made a donkey at the bottom, with a dog on his back, a cat on the dog, and a small bright rooster right on top. Today, that statue stands in the middle of the Bremen market square. Children visit it from all over the world. They reach up and touch the donkey's nose, which has turned shiny gold from so many gentle hands. They look up at the 4 old friends and smile. And somewhere, far away in time, in a small cottage in Kassel, a kind old woman with hundreds of stories in her heart is smiling too. The fire is warm. The blanket is soft. Your toes are toasty. Outside your window, the snow is falling slowly, slowly. The lamps are gentle and yellow. The donkey is dreaming. The dog is dreaming. The cat is dreaming. The rooster has tucked his head under his wing. And so, Bremen also slowly, slowly fell asleep. Good night.